What I want to talk about is base camp on Everest. Um, Bear with me. I'm actually nearly angry. And I don't really do angry. I do confused and upset and ashamed and indignant, but I don't usually do angry. I try to understand what is happening and why, and I try to see the other side. I think I've talked before about the book called Factfulness by Hans Rosling. Marvellous. If he was still alive, I'd ask him if he has an autistic brain. He says, check the facts, see the bigger long-term picture. In my mind, go back to my video about Griff the Arcanan, you see all of the pictures, you see all of the possibilities. But I am a bit angry, or at least bemused, and I think the word people use is miffed. I don't like that word. It sounds wrong and it feels wrong, and I have no idea to what it pertains, but it seems to suggest an unhappiness that's kind of childish. It suggests they want to express a complaint or a criticism, but they want to soften the response in advance. Do you know what I mean? I'm a bit miffed. Don't like it. Anyway, yet more digression. I am miffed because I took part in an interview for the Daily Express, which drew attention to women waiting years for accurate or any diagnosis, actually, just women waiting for adequate diagnosis. Marvellous, great that was done. But I wanted to be sure that this interview was a start and not just an add-on to all of the publicity about the McGuinness family and Melanie Sykes. That's great. I was able to stress the misunderstanding and misconceptions. Great again. But, I wanted to continue. I wanted and I want to speak out so that more of us are heard and seen, maybe even validated or even accepted for who we are. So the journalist called and texted and emailed until the day before, and then after print, nothing. Not even a courtesy contact to ask how I felt or what I thought. I'd served my purpose and I was dispensed. Back to either lurking in the shadows as the real me or back to the day job of pretending not to be me, I guess. And in an even more miffing way, I'm not sure that she listened to me. I started to think that she didn't listen to me. She certainly used words in her article that I didn't say, and she misrepresented my feelings about my autistic brain. But then, if I stop being miffed for a moment, my brain starts to wonder, maybe she didn't do that. Maybe that's actually what she heard. Perhaps that is yet another part of the problem that keeps us divided. Somehow what I said didn't resonate as I expected, and then to rationalise it or normalise it, she changed it into words that she could understand. She made it into muggle talk. So maybe that is the only way they can even begin to understand. Maybe we, or I, have to try and put some of this into muggle language if there's any hope of being seen as more than a curio or an oddity. Keep the parties and the town fair, bearded lady thing. That would have been me if I'd have been in redneck USA in the 1800s. Yeah, and come on, there must be other people out there who listen to the Greatest Showman's This Is Me at full volume whilst dancing around the kitchen using a wooden spoon and the potato masher as drumming instruments. Is it just me? Maybe it's just me. And this is how we get back to the thing about Everest Base Camp. I did say bear with me. The journalist described my autistic brain as being more irritable than neurotypical ones. She quoted me as saying that, which I didn't. She said that for autistic brains, there was a higher level of irritability, which meant that a small thing could push them over the edge. Let me tell you what I actually said. And forgive me, because if you have read or watched any of my previous stuff, you'll know that I have explained my theory on this before, and in fact in more detail. What I told her was, I call it the scale of stuff. Lots of people talk about the spoons theory, I think, which is similar, but I guess this works better for me and for those I explain it to. The scale of stuff is just another way of saying life. Everyone wakes up and there is stuff to do and to think about. They go to sleep and there is more stuff to reflect upon and worry about before it begins again. So for me, and from what I understand for many autistic brains, there is just so much more to think about and to do and to reflect and worry about. It's never ending. So if we say that a calm level is 3 and a starting to panic level is 13 and a totally incapacitated level of fear and anxiety is 23, and random numbers, aren't they? Then for an average neurotypical, they may spend most days below 13, sometimes tipping over, but then ending the day back around 10. They understand the planet they're on, and apparently their secret intuitions and their rule book of hidden meanings and socialising skills and hierarchical constraints, it means they can plan their day and know what to expect. For lots of autistic brains, this just isn't the case. I explained to the journalist that I wake up at over 13 just because I exist, and then can very quickly reach the 23 before lunch. I explained to her that something as simple as opening the post can then become impossible. But it's not because the post is a problem. It's because trying to navigate this planet is a problem. Trying to speak is a problem. She didn't understand. She said that having an autistic brain was like having a higher level of irritability. So now I will get to the Everest Base Camp thing. I want to explain this better, and if she would listen to me again, I want to explain that this is the way I see it. I'm not an expert on neurotypicals. Of course I'm not. But in over 50 years, I have seen lots and I have read lots. And more recently, I have read and researched the neurodiverse brain. So I know that they are different. An average neurotypical gets up on a planet they understand and feels secure in most of their knowledge about it. They know what to expect from their colleagues and what their colleagues expect from them. You know, a meeting with the boss might be worrying, but with the special skills menu that they have, they will know what to say and, more importantly, what not to. So for them, it's a camping trip on a mildly windy night. They have the instructions for the tent and they're confident about the assembly. Some bits might be missing, but they can borrow a tent peg or even find a rock nearby. There might be some undulating ground to avoid. And if the wind gusts with menace, they may have to work quicker and harder. They may need another jumper. But they know that they have stayed happily in that tent before and that they have survived to rise in the morning with the sun. They know that if a storm arrives, they can hastily retreat to the car and go home. They know where the car is parked and they know the way home. They may be damp, they may be disappointed, but they'll put their kettle on and plan the next camping trip. I'm human, just the same, and I've arrived with my trusty tent ready to embark on my camping adventure. But I'm at Everest Base Camp. All around me are people with different languages and customs. I need to try and communicate with them so I can find out where to pitch my tent and how to buy some food and if anyone knows what the weather conditions are for the next day. A storm of snow or wind or both could make erecting my tent impossible. If this happens, then I have to find shelter in this desolate and inhospitable place. I have no idea how I will attempt the ascent to the summit tomorrow. I have no idea what I will awake to find, or even if I'll be able to sleep through any of the night. Just like the neurotypical trip, we're both camping, but the harsh, unknown, unpredictable nature of my surroundings and the lack of anything known or secure, it means that my energy levels will drop rapidly. It'll be difficult to relax, and when I spill my only flask of hot coffee, it will be enough to reduce me to a heap of sobs. If this is me in the office, you'll think that I'm overreacting to something as simple as spilt coffee. You might tell me to stop being pathetic and that I'm embarrassing myself. The coffee is irrelevant. I know that it makes it easier for you to look away and walk away if you believe the myths and the misconceptions. Stay away from her. Don't invite her. She always overreacts. She gets upset at the smallest things. To quote a line from Dirty Dancing, I guess that is what you'd see. If you'd watched a YouTube clip of me ascending to Everest Base Camp alone, watched me pitch my flimsy tent in wind and driving rain, watched me struggle to find food, and watched me trying to decipher the map for tomorrow's climb, then you might just understand why spilling my hot coffee mattered. You might even feel sorry for me in that situation, or want to help, or know more, I don't know. And, well, whether you did or you didn't, if you took the time to watch and listen, then fab and thank you. It means a lot to me if eventually these horrible myths, misconceptions and misunderstandings can be changed. So next, I'm going to compile a list of things about me that might be because of my autistic brain. Lots of people have asked for something that might help women like me recognise themselves and help with diagnosis. So I'll give it a go. What can possibly go wrong?